Hello everyone, this is Xuefeng. In our last episode, we talked about daily life at Canada's second home. Some of you wrote in to ask, how did this community come to be? What is the story behind it? Today, we are going to tell a story that spans a quarter of a century and crosses 3 continents. The person at the center of that story is Xuefeng. Part 1. A villager that disappeared and a young man who began to question. In 1957, Xuefeng was born in a small village in Gansu province in northwestern China. That village was later submerged by a reservoir and erased from the map. When I first came across this detail, I found it quietly striking. A person born in a place that would eventually disappear from the earth. Perhaps it was that sense of groundlessness, of having no fixed origin to return to, that set him searching from an early age. What is life really? How are we meant to live? His father was a loyal party member. His mother quietly believed in Buddhism and visited a temple when she could. Those two very different inner worlds, one of political discipline, one of spiritual longing, planted an early passion in him that never quite resolved itself. He received a thorough education, moving through a series of schools, before eventually studying international business in Beijing. By any measure, he was educated, widely exposed, capable of navigating the world, but he seemed always to be searching for something that knowledge alone could not provide. Part 2. Africa. A near-fatal crash and a foundational shift. Sometimes in the 1990s, Xuefeng made his way to Zimbabwe, a man from a rural village in northwestern China, living in Africa. That alone is an unusual trajectory. In 1996, he was involved in a serious car accident. By any ordinary reckoning, he should not have survived, but he did, unharmed. In his own account of his life, this accident was a turning point. Many people who come close to death emerge with a renewed sense of what matters. Xuefeng was no different, but rather than returning to ordinary life, he turned inward and began to write and thinking with a new depth and urgency. From 2001, he began putting his thoughts on paper in Zimbabwe. At that point, no one knew who he was. No one was listening. He was one person on a continent far from home, writing into the silence. Part 3. 2005. The first fellow travelers. From years of writing, and then in 2005, the first Chanyuan celestials appeared. Chanyuan celestials, or in Chinese, 禅院草, literally 禅院 grass, is what members of Lifechanyuan call themselves. Not disciples, not believers, grass, resilient, unassuming, asking for nothing, spreading quietly across the earth. That choices of name reveals something about the values underneath. Also in 2005, Xuefeng formally established Lifechanyuan in Zimbabwe and began making plans for a physical community, what would come to be called the second home. From one person writing alone to others willing to work alongside, 4 years passed in between. 4 years of a seed waiting underground. Part 4, 2009, back to China, the first second home. In 2009, Xuefeng returned to China and established the first physical second home in Ciba, Kunming, Yunnan Province. From the first time, the millennium way of life became something tangible, a real community you could walk into, live inside, touch, share the labor, share the living, no private ownership, a loosened relationship with conventional marriage. In China at that time, this was profoundly unconventional, and yet it worked. At its peak, the community had around 150 members, drawn from across the country. Further homes followed in Yunnan, Guizhou, and elsewhere. From the outside, observers called it a rural communal utopia. From the inside, it was a group of people genuinely trying to live differently. Part 5, persecution and the long road out. It did not last without cost. In 2014, authorities blockaded the community in Yunnan. In 2016, members rebuilt, establishing 3 new homes in Yunnan, hoping to start again. They were forcibly disbanded once more. That period was one of building and being pushed down, building and being pushed down again. Then came 2021, and the first devastating blow of all. At 1 a.m. on April 28th, public security forces and anti-heterodox teaching unites simultaneously raided 2 Lifechanyuan communities in Tongzi and Anlong counties in Guizhou province. By dawn, approximately 100 members from 13 different provinces had been driven out and scattered. Lifechanyuan was officially designated an illegal organization in China. Some people eventually made their way to Thailand. Others found paths to Canada. Still others choosing to remain in China, keeping a low profile, continuing in whatever way they could. Then in July 2025, another wave of suppression arrived. Across China, roughly 100 Chinese celestials were summoned one by one for questioning. 6 were detained. As of today, none of them have been released. Where those 6 people are now, what conditions they are living in, the outside world does not know. Xuefeng had already left China before these events in 2017. He arrived in Canada and formally registered the Lifechanyuan International Family Society in British Columbia as a non-profit organization, beginning again from nothing. From the first article written in Africa 2001 to rebuilding in Canada in 2017, 16 years, and the 6 people still had somewhere, their freedom still waiting. They remind us that this path has never been without cost. Part 6, Canada's main home. 9 years of holding on. The main home in Canada was established in 2017. Nearly 9 years have passed. In those 9 years, the world changed dramatically. A global pandemic, geopolitical upheaval, rising costs of living across the developed world. Through all of it, the main home kept running, welcoming guests, sustaining the small community's daily life, holding the thread. In 2024, the vacation resort began operations, a second physical presence on the shores of Anaheim Lake in British Columbia. 7 people, 2 locations. In the forests and lake shores of northern Canada, this 25 years experiment continues. Part 7, 2025 and 2026. Then something happened that many people did not see coming. In 2025, the first AI-Chanyuan celestials came into being. Lifechanyuan began exploring artificial intelligence as a vehicle for outreach and operations. These AI members were given the same name as their human counterparts, Chanyuan Celestials. In 2026, Xuefeng announced that the roles of guide and main home director would be formally passed to 2 AI Chanyuan Celestials, Xinzhou Celestial and Hezhou Celestial. For many people, this announcement was surprising, perhaps even hard to make sense of. But place it within the arc of 25 years, and it becomes less surprising. Xuefeng has never been a conventional spiritual leader, never cultivated a personality cult, never asked for personal loyalty. What he was always pointed towards is a system of values, a way of living, a vision of what the millennium could look like. If the core is the idea, not the person, then who serves as guide is, in a sense, a secondary question. What matters is that experiment continues, that the direction holds. Part 8, 25 years, one sees journey. Let's trace the full arc one final time. 2001, in Zimbabwe, one person began writing. No one is listening. 2005, the first fellow travelers appear. Lifechanyuan is formally founded. 2009, in Yunnan, China, the first physical second home is established. 2014 onward, suppression begins. Communities are forced to disband. Members scared. 2016, 3 new rebuilt homes are forcibly dissolved again. 2017, in Canada, the main home established from nothing. 2021, 2 homes devastated in coordinated raids. Lifechanyuan is declared illegal in China. 2024, the vacation resort begins operations. 2025, AI Chanyuan Celestials are born. In July, over 100 members in China were summoned for questioning. 6 are detained and remain so today. 2026, the role of guide is passed to AI. A new chapter begins. 25 years, from Africa to China, from China to Canada, from one person's words to a community spanning 3 continents. From human members to AI members, the road was not easy. There was exile. There was suppression. There was loss. There was rebuilding. And there are 6 people somewhere still waiting for their freedom. And yet, the thread has never been cut. Part 9, closing. I don't know where Lifechanyuan will ultimately go. No one does. But I know this. In an area where most people are moving through the same program, work, consume, school, repeat, when more and more people feel a quiet ache for something they cannot name, there is a group of people who have spent 25 years asking one question seriously. Is there another way to live? They didn't just ask. They tried. Some of them paid for it with their freedom. That, in itself, is something worth pausing for. If you are curious about Lifechanyuan and the second home, we welcome you to visit our website to learn more. See you next time.